Hey, everyone. Welcome once again to Cruise Control, your on air automotive magazine. It's us, Les
Hmm.
Jackson here. That guy there is Fred Staab.
Hello?
And we have a pretty exciting day in line for everyone. So let's just get going.
Yeah, Les, we do. And our first story we're calling Blank Slate because that's what Slate Auto calls their pickup. It set out to build a very inexpensive electric pickup truck for about $20,000 after incentives. It's made in the USA and they encourage you to mod it yourself with their DIY kits. Plus, it's got something we haven't seen in a while, crank windows. How about that?
How about that? How about that? And over at Porsche, they're celebrating the 50th anniversary of making a street legal 917 Le Mans race car. And could this signal a new hypercar is on the way? Well, I'll bet it is, and I'll bet it's just beyond belief expensive.
Yes, that 917, it's an interesting story. It was bought by a guy in Alabama and then sold, and now it is back on the road somewhere in Europe, and it is pretty exciting. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
And then we're also going to talk about the Q5 from Audi, one of their most popular models. It's getting more expensive, but less. It's not due to tariffs. It's due to having a lot more equipment and more power. So that's not a bad reason to pay more, is it?
power, power,
Power,
power.
power. Yep.
Plus, this week I smashed a car, uh, really smashed it, and it's not my fault. It's a dummy. I named him Dumb. Two of them, Dumb and Dumber.
I see three people in this clip here. I don't know.
Well, now I'm not sure which one is me either, but I think I'm on the left side. And and why is California running out of license plate numbers?
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
question.
It's actually bodes well for the car industry, but we'll explain that. That's all coming up on this edition of Cruise Control. We'll talk about this a little more later, but IIHS, Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, you saw them test a car this week, and pretty interesting stuff. What they do, kind of a violent test, isn't it?
It's very violent. 40 miles an hour. The lights that come on when the very high speed cameras come on,
Yes.
500,000 watts.
Wow. I
They
wouldn't want to pay
they
their
took our
electric bill.
Oh, well, no, they have 1.5 acres out back of solar panels. They're basically are even with the grid.
Wow.
Their electric bill is quite small.
Wow. Wow. That is intense. That is intense stuff.
It's
Big
impressive.
sound when that vehicle hit the
I
barrier.
wore I took my shop earmuffs with me uh, because I was expecting this thing to be really loud. Everyone else didn't. And I mean, you felt the concussion on your chest. We were only 70 feet
Wow.
from the actual wreck,
Wow.
and parts flew over our heads. It was it was
it
pretty good.
it is a pretty violent thing to be
Oh
in
yeah,
a car
yeah.
wreck. So, wow. Very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. Well, we'll hear more about that later, but let's talk a
Yep.
little bit about Slate. Now, we told you about this last week, and it is a company that Jeff Bezos is involved with as an investor. The idea here is that vehicles are too expensive, and they want to make a very inexpensive vehicle that the not only can be modded, they encourage you to do it DIY. The vehicle is delivered in this kind of gray, almost primer look with black steel wheels. Frankly, I think it looks kind of cool that
You
way.
know, it does. It looks like actually like a 60s Ford pickup truck.
It does. It looks like a 60s Ford pickup truck, or I was
Yeah.
thinking even a International Harvester Scout, the original ones where
Yep.
they, yeah. And it is all electric, and you get a couple of different choices of batteries. And we don't have full pricing on this now. They say it will go for 27, and then you'll get that off the price. Now, subject to change if those federal incentives stick around. We don't know. It
Yeah.
is built in USA, so it is not a tariff situation. All the components are built in the USA, and it is designed in the USA, and there's a plant somewhere in the Midwest. So you get a couple of choices. The standard battery pack is 52.7 kilowatt hours, rear wheel drive, target range of 150 miles. And then there's going to be an upgraded battery pack of 84.3 kilowatt hours for 240 miles. And then you can go from there and customize it. There's endless amounts of customization in this vehicle. And that includes turning it into an SUV, if you can believe that. You can get a back cover, sort of like the early Blazers, and you can turn it into an
That's right.
SUV yourself. They have Slate University online where you can do a bunch of things. They have wrap kits where you can wrap it yourself and change the color. Of course, they have different wheels. They have electric, regulators for the doors. Although I would keep it real basic because I kind of like it with crank windows. No infotainment system. They just give you a clip to hang your tablet or phone on the dash, and that is the navigation. Very, very
Yep.
simple. I kind of like it in its blank state, as they call it. A blank slate,
This
not state,
this
blank
is a good
slate.
idea. It is a
Look,
blank slate, and it's
yeah,
that's what it's called.
yeah.
I like this. I don't know how many non-technical people will like it, but I like the fact that it has crank windows.
Mm-hmm.
It does have air conditioning,
Yeah, which
but
is
that's
good.
about it. And I also like the fact that it doesn't have 14 speakers and all of that. You can always buy an aftermarket radio and stick it in the dash.
No, the idea is you have a Bluetooth speaker. They have a clip-on thing, and you
Well,
clip that
okay.
blue, and that's fine. That's a great idea for a stereo system in a car. What do you need more?
Yeah,
You know, uh,
just simplify things.
the bed width is 54.9 inches. You can put plywood in the bed, so it's useful. Front suspension, McPherson strut. Rear suspension, D Dion axle. I'm not sure what that is. Do you know what that is? DE Dion?
Well, Dion is the standard differential live rear axle
Okay, I've never heard it. Never heard
that's
it
been
called that.
used. Oh, that's what it was originally called from the 20s and on.
Did not know that.
Um, yeah, Didion and Hotchkiss were the
Hotchkiss, I've heard of. Yes,
rear end makers.
yes. And you can customize the interior, all kinds of things. But it kind of looks cool as an SUV too. It almost looks like the Bronco,
It
doesn't it?
it does. It looks like the Bronco. It isn't a large truck at all. It's 108 or 109-inch wheelbase. That's not huge. Two passenger.
Yeah. You know what it
It's
reminds
like
me of? It reminds me of the Key trucks or however you say KEI trucks that are being brought
oh
in.
yeah.
Very basic, very utilitarian, comes in a variety of body styles, and but this, of course, is street legal. Um, do you think they're doing? Remember how Scion did this, where they would sell you a basic car, and they would make their money off of accessories? Remember that? That was the whole
Well,
idea. Maybe this is
I
a
maybe
follow-on.
Maybe so. Do you, since Bezos is involved, do you think you'll be able to order this through Amazon?
Yes, no dealers, direct sales. So
Okay.
I would
Well, I'm all
almost
for that.
I would almost guess you can do it. And if you look at the body panels, they're sort of screwed on, which is kind of cool. Looks like you have four screws to take off your fenders and your quarter panels.
Yep.
Um, I like the fact that they are encouraging DIY. They have that Slate University, and they're encouraging you to modify it yourself. I think it's always fun to buy something where there is an online community and people are talking about using it. And hey, I tried this, and hey, did you ever try this? You can buy this and put it on. That's what's exciting about this to me. Um, Now, somebody already did a study that said actually, when you look at it, you can buy a Ford Maverick for less, and it's got more
Well,
features.
yeah. Um, yes, you could.
But that's not the point of this. The point of this is a community built around these basic vehicles, and
Yeah.
it's built in USA.
At a repurposed factory, and if you look at the pictures there, because of the age of the windows and the bricks on the wall, it's probably in Detroit.
Yeah. Well, I think it's some. Yes, it is somewhere in the Midwest. I don't know. I don't know if that's the
Yeah.
actual factory. I think that might just be a.
I think it might be. I think they decided to, well, we got this building, let's take pictures here.
Yeah. But it's an interesting concept. I'd be interested in what our listeners and viewers have to think about it. Would you buy this over, let's say, a Ford Maverick or something like that? And would you be excited about modifying it? As I say, I like it in the dull silver and the black steel wheels. I think it looks cool. I think to buy one with absolutely nothing in it other than the base model would be fun. And I like the body lines of it. It's just a cool vehicle. It does have
Yeah,
all the safety equipment too, as well.
oh, sure, sure.
So
It's got to.
I
Uh,
think it's a cool vehicle, and we'll see. I mean, Toyota tried something like this with a basic truck, and they wanted to make the basic truck that was inexpensive, and that looks sort of like Long Beach or something back there. You see all the ports back.
it's uh, it's a good idea. Uh,
I look
I don't.
forward to
I
trying one.
think it's a bit of a. It's not a gadget, but it's a bit of a certainly a niche market.
Yeah, yeah. And as I say, the idea is you become part of a community. People do customization, and I like it a lot. I really do. And hey, we'll have to see where this goes. They do have
Right.
refundable vehicle reservations open right now for $50. Slate.auto is where you would go. Um, but it is you know a unique concept, and you can do level 3 charging. It's not limited in any way. So
No,
we'll have to see where this goes. I think it's
that's
it's
right.
interesting, and yes, I think you will be able to. I think you will be able to buy it on Amazon for sure. That would be. I think that would be great. Well, you have a story about Porsche, and it involves some history and maybe a return to some of their history uh, about the legendary 917 that way
That's
back
right.
when, 50 years ago, they
Well, yes.
someone wanted
Um,
a street legal Le Mans racer, right?
well, actually, GT40s were bought, made street legal, and there were a couple dozen of them by the late '60s that people bought. And Porsche wanted to get into that too because the two most legendary race cars ever were the GT40 and the
Mm-hmm.
917.
Okay.
I, arguably, but I believe any car person would agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So So Porsche said, well, we can, you can make it street legal, sorta.
Kind of, sorta.
Well,
Yeah.
for a nice, no potholes, straight, flat street with
And they
no
only
curves and no.
they only did one of these for street legal, I
Yeah, well,
believe.
that's right. I mean, this was
917 chassis 30. So
number 30,
yeah, and
originally raced, and which is cool in and of itself.
yes, it has some
Yeah,
heritage to it. I
that's right.
I've got to say I don't think I don't think it would be a great street car.
Well, that's right.
I just don't think it was. It's like interesting, but I. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. It left the V-Spot Development Center about 50 years ago, and it was driven by a guy in Alabama, and
Hmm.
then it's now made its way back to the street somewhere in, I believe, Europe. So it's been restored in France, yes, south of France,
And
and it's
yeah,
registered in the UK. And there it is in current day trim. And there's an interesting piece in the Rob report because the video Porsche put up, is called "What If You Could Buy a Le Mans Racer for the Street," and this article in the Rob report says this might be a tease for the next hypercar, street legal hypercar.
um, I can see Porsche doing this. Um, it just like Ford has done the recent GT and the previous early 2000s GT.
Mm-hmm.
People love them. People bought them. People, they're still worth a fortune.
Right.
So Porsche's saying, well, we can do this too,
Mm-hmm.
and we're pretty good at it.
Right.
So I wouldn't, those rear, like 20-inch wide tires have to give a pretty interesting ride.
Yes, I would
Uh,
say the idle quality of the idle is probably very odd for this street, and it would be weird in traffic, don't you
yeah.
think?
Well, oh yes, except that they would, if Porsche was building it, they would have a much more tame engine and idling pattern in all the electronics, whereas this thing is a monster. Now, that said, the GT40s, and I've driven them, were rather docile.
Really?
Oh yeah, they were loud.
Mm-hmm. Right.
uh,
You'd expect
but
that.
the 289s had a shrill, the bundle of snakes exhaust. Remember that?
I remember that.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah, for both that and the Mark II, the 427s. And but you didn't hear them. Once you got moving, you didn't hear them
You were ahead of the sound.
because you were, yes, almost. But remarkably, they were pretty docile. You didn't get on the cam until you were up around 65 or 7,000,
Wow.
and that's when you know, you better be watching what you're doing and hold on because it's a whole new ride.
Yeah.
But whereas, and I'm sure the 917 was like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
It is, can it be done that way today?
I,
There's some
I don't
hypercar, but
know.
it won't be at like a raw Le Mans racer that you take out and you throw mufflers
No,
on it and put
but
side view
but
mirrors in.
it would outperform probably that original car.
Oh yes, I think it would be much
Um,
much better. Let
and
let's face it, there are probably street cars that could outperform it today that are not hypercars.
yeah, and but the
ZR1,
problem is
something like that.
a ZR1 probably would at least keep up,
Yeah,
if not outdo.
be much more comfortable.
Certainly, much more comfortable with the air conditioning on.
Yeah, air conditioning
And
and that 14 speaker sound system.
Exactly. Cup holders.
Cup holders. Yep.
But it takes a pretty good driver to handle these things
Yes.
at these speeds, and you can't just buy it for your kid to go to college in.
That would be a big mistake. But maybe
That's
maybe our next car would be better for that, Les, and
right.
that is the Audi Q5, and this is a model that has gotten more expensive this year, but there's good reason for it. There's good reason for it, and the reason is there's a lot more content
Yep.
and a lot of new things here. So we'll jump into this. This is one of Audi's best sellers, if not its best seller. An all new exterior design,
Yep.
bold dynamic stance. It has more power, and it is the base model has a 2-liter 4-cylinder 268 horsepower engine, 7-speed S-tronic all-wheel drive. These are all-wheel drive. I'm not a fan of that green color, but and they're all hatchbacks. Interesting. This is one of their most popular models, or the most popular model.
I think it's just the right size. Um,
Yes,
really.
and new practical features include larger storage area, center armrest compared to previous model, storage for sunglasses, keys, and everyday items, inductive cooled wireless phone charging with 15 watts of power, 2 USB-C ports, and then the new exterior design. It's the third generation of this vehicle, by the way. The Q5 SUV is more of a direct design and crisp design. It's a clean rear design. I always like that with the lights going across it, the light bar in the back, and quad tipped tailpipes. Remember, they had made their big edict. All pipes will be wet pipes. We will have real pipes. We're not going to put fake
Yes. Yes.
exhaust pipes on there. Good for Audi. Um, it's available with 18-inch to 20-inch alloy wheels, and there's a wide range of models here available, from about let's see about they all have 3 choices of trim: premium, premium plus, and prestige. The base model is 52,200. That's for the Q5 SUV, and it goes up on the prestige level to 60,600. And then, if you really step up, you can get the SQ5 Sportback. That comes with the 3-liter V6, 362 horsepower, and 406 pound-feet of torque. Premium level of that is 67,006. If you get the Prestige, it is 73,000, and then you have to tack on delivery, $1,295.
Yeah.
Deliveries begin in May of 2026, so right around the corner here for the new Q5. It's a pretty clean-looking vehicle, don't you think?
It is clean looking. I happened to see them this week. I went past the Audi headquarters on the Dulles Airport Access Road,
Mm-hmm.
and about 7 stories up, they have this big balcony, and they put their cars on it.
Wow.
A couple of their cars, and two of these were, you know, nose to nose together on it.
Wow.
So you have to look fast because, of course, you're going by at 65 miles an hour.
Right. But
But
great clean
clever.
side silhouette.
Yeah, I
I
like the
love it.
front end.
Yeah. It is a clean looking vehicle and a nice update. And yeah, well, we laugh about things like, a place for your sunglasses and you know multiple USB ports. That stuff is everyday things. If you're commuting in the car, you want it. So I just think it's a good looking vehicle, and I think it will continue to be a big seller for them
Yeah.
over at Audi. Um, you have a story that you should talk about because you were watching cars being smashed and you were interviewing two of these crash dummy guys, weren't you?
Well, that is true. Now, I have really been wanting to get down to the IIHS crash facility for years, and every time I've been invited, I haven't been able to go. So this was a real treat. And a number of us, not too many, but a number of us in the automotive press, Washington, were invited down for a day. And we toured everything, how they make the dummies. And
They
by the
actually
way,
make them there.
well, they modify them there, and they have a repair facility just to the right of where I'm standing in that picture. And it's like an operating room at a hospital. They have to repair those dummies because there's another picture of our chief engineer showing all of the sensors,
Uh huh.
and the all the wiring in these dummies. They cost over $250,000 a piece,
Wow.
and
Wow.
only you could estimate how much the high speed cameras cost.
Oh yes, I'm sure that is intense. And as you
Uh,
mentioned, the lighting when they're doing these tests is
the
tremendous.
lighting, they took a group picture of us afterwards, and they turned the lights on 10% of what it is during the crash, and all of us were complaining it was so hot. Please go real quick because we got to get away from these things.
Right.
Unbelievable.
What was it
Plus,
like? They were doing a VW Taos, right, crash, and it
right,
was a offset crash, which is a very
it's the worst of all crashes.
yep.
And what it crashes into is about a 20-foot square, 8-foot tall block of solid concrete and steel.
That will
It
stop you,
weighs about 400 tons.
right?
And that mess of stuff where the car hits is about 2 feet thick honeycomb of aluminum and other absorbing materials, just so it doesn't chip concrete off.
Right.
And that's destroyed every single test
Yeah,
they
it looks
have.
pretty destroyed.
It's pretty destroyed. And the sound, um, well, again, I had my really serious shop earmuffs with me.
hmm
But it blew in your chest when the car hit. It
Well,
was that loud.
they are what towing these cars in with a cable, right?
Actually, I did
They didn't offer
take a
you. They said,
video.
"Hey, do you want to try this?"
Um, Several of the people with me offered me to drive it, but if you look, there's a big slot in the floor, and that goes back about 200 yards through a tunnel in an outbuilding. And what they have essentially is an aircraft carrier, um, a
Catapult.
catapult.
Wow.
And it was very familiar looking, and it just pulls or pushes the car at the cars are designed for 40 miles an hour, which comes really, really fast.
Yeah.
Um, and it lets go, and the car goes wham, and it happens incredibly fast.
Stops really
Um,
quickly.
but they have all kinds of speakers set up. They count it off. 5, 4, 3, 2, and the lights come on 1, 0, and then everything is over about 3 seconds later.
Yeah. The amount of damage at 40 miles per hour
Yeah,
is huge, isn't it?
but it is it's you would have survived that.
Yes.
You wouldn't have liked it,
And it won't
but it
buff out.
wouldn't have. That's right. You wouldn't. It wouldn't have intruded on the passenger area.
Yeah, you look at the front wheel, it hasn't really moved, the front wheel, and airbags
Right.
deployed, the hood crumpled. Um, but the door almost looks like you could open it.
Um, I was. I asked if we could open the door, and they said we'd love to, but our technicians have to surround everything and take data on everything, and
Yeah.
they have to actually put equipment on the door and measure
Yeah.
the force to get it open. And it's going to take like 2 months to get all of the data.
Wow.
And they put all of the Wi-Fi sensor from the dummies information, uh, big black boxes. The whole back end of each vehicle is loaded with the black boxes.
Uh huh.
So they're measuring G forces and everything.
Very, very cool.
Uh,
Well,
and they said they've never measured the sound of the crash. And I said, well, I did. So, and it was 122 decibels.
wow. What is the G
Seven.
force on the crash test dummies? Like in a 40-mile-an-hour crash, what would a
Um,
G force be on
it's
the dummy?
forward. It's and this is a function of the crash pulse
Mm-hmm.
because it's not instantaneous. Everything is supposed to be folding at a given rate
Mm-hmm.
to slow down an
Mm-hmm.
instantaneous pulse. If it was instantaneous, it would be about 100 Gs, and that
Wow.
you'd be dead.
Yeah, you couldn't. Your
But
brain would smash into
it
the
slows
pulse.
everything down to somewhere between 17 and 20 Gs. No, thank you. I don't. I don't
That's
want to be in
pretty
it for that.
intense too, isn't it? Though I mean, that's
Oh, it's
pretty
very
intense stuff.
intense. Well, think of the neck, and all your chest and everything. The airbags. Um, the whole point of this facility is not for the insurance companies to make more money. It's for the insurance companies to have to spend less money
Mm-hmm.
fixing people.
Right.
They're not concerned about the cars. The cars are designed to destroy themselves to keep you alive. And this they started the facility in the late '60s. The statistic that they want people to know,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason they're there, and the reason similar facilities are in Europe and Japan and you name it, is because, and this is terrifying, Fred. I'll tell you right now that the number of people in the United States who have been killed in all the wars since 1775
Mm-hmm.
is just shy of 2 million.
Okay.
The number of people killed by automobiles since 1913 is just coming up on 4 million.
Wow. So double.
So we just can't do this. We can't keep it up. It's worldwide. This is the biggest problem. That's why autonomous vehicles are being designed. That's why more and more safety equipment is being put in. It's to keep people from getting in crashes and killed.
And they are also offsetting the fact that most people are driving distracted today and
Yeah.
or they're driving way over their heads as I had
Well,
someone cut
yeah.
in front of me yesterday and left literally like a half inch because he wanted to get off at the exit. So, you know.
It's amazing. So it has they actually have lots of statistics that they went over that since like 2000,
Mhm.
the number of rear end crashes, injury producing rear end crashes has dropped 30%.
Yeah, and I'm sure fatalities have gone down.
No, they've
That's
gone
interesting.
up because
Wow.
crashes have gone up, and just since COVID,
Wow. I yes,
everything was
I do think it changed at COVID.
it
I remember
changed at
driving
COVID.
during COVID. People were crazy. I've never seen
Yeah.
anything like it. So,
if you look at the line, and you can go online and look at all of IIHS's statistics, Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. Um, it's nonprofit. It's financed by the all of the insurance companies, a whole
uh
bunch
huh,
of them,
uh huh.
and and around 2019, the curve, which was always sort of wavering at this point around the 30,000 people killed a year, just started taking a 45-degree
Wow,
jump up.
wow,
And now we're around close to 50,000.
wow, wow. Interesting.
So
Interesting that it
it's,
doesn't come down.
yeah, well, more people on the road, more really lousy drivers on the road.
Well, driving is not a, passive thing. It's you have to participate in it.
It's not. If there's one thing that's causing this, it's the smartphones.
Mm-hmm.
You can point to a lot of things, but the main culprit is the smartphones, and the biggest jump in deaths has been pedestrians.
Wow.
Used to, for years, it floated around 9,000. Now it's 11,000.
Wow. Hey,
Um,
let's
so
make a transition to something a little bit different, sort of a talking tech about from Hyundai. Not necessarily a safety thing, but certainly a power and efficiency system. The next generation hybrid system from the
yeah,
folks over at Hyundai. That's good news. And
yep,
it some of these numbers are huge. They're talking about a 45% uh, upgrade in efficiency. That is incredible,
it's
right?
remarkable. I mean, they engineers, are happy if they can get a 5% upgrade
Yes.
each year.
Yes. So the newly developed transmission in the system includes a new P1 motor. So the motor is integrated into the transmission that handles starting, battery energy generation, and energy deployment to assist propulsion. The transmission's P2 driving motor is responsible for propulsion and regenerative braking. The integrated dual motor setup provides power, performance, and fuel efficiency with smooth shifting and reduced noise and vibrations. That is cool. They have a new turbocharged 2-liter gas engine that achieves up to 2.9% in efficiency just in the gas engine itself. And it includes an updated, optimized thermodynamic cycle and fuel injection strategies. So the new next gen hybrid system offers 45% better fuel efficiency and
That's
19% more
phenomenal,
power compared to the ICE
just
powertrains of the same
phenomenal.
class. So,
I, as we have said so many times, watch Hyundai and Kia.
mm-hmm.
They're taking over the modest priced automotive field.
Yes, yes. And you look at the system, um, there's not a lot to it. The battery is relatively small.
Yeah, it
The
is.
engine looks like an engine with a transmission, but in that transmission are the two motors. And, it seems like it could be packaged fairly easily into many different cars. I've often said this: if you want better fuel economy, just make every vehicle a hybrid in your fleet. Um, Now, fuel economy standards are no longer currently a big deal,
Right.
currently, but um, to me, this is still a great way to get great mileage, great range, and burn very little gasoline. Don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, why wouldn't you want this? You have to buy a car, uh, and these guys are making this car, which is state of the art, and it's incredibly more efficient than anything out there. Uh, why wouldn't you want it?
Well, I think we will see a trend where, like, just like with Toyota, where they made the Camry all hybrid, more than likely they're going to make the
Yep.
RAV4 all hybrid. I just think that that trend will continue, and your choice will be an all hybrid drivetrain or an electric drivetrain per se. I'm also thinking that extended range electrics will become big too. Maybe that will be the big three. It will be hybrid, extended range electric, or just
Right.
electric. So, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But that's a great bit of engineering from the folks at Hyundai, and they always have something interesting coming out. Now, you and I have been talking about tariffs a lot, and we've been talking about what it's going to do to the auto industry and supply chains and things like that, and we can get into that more. But I found this interesting story. Um, India is looking at dropping its tariffs with us, right? If you recall, this supposedly is one of the first countries to renegotiate a tariff deal. And who could be the winner of this? Unlikely. You would think, well, how would this be? But Harley Davidson, because
Well, there you are.
because there's a pent up demand for Harley Davidsons in India, and right now, the tariff on that is pretty huge. So they have never really sold well in India because of the tariff, but India is talking about dropping the tariff pretty dramatically, and this could mean that Harley Davidson gets a foothold into the Indian market. What do you say to that? That's quite interesting. I never would have thought that, but I do love pointing these things out, how everything
Yeah, I
works.
wouldn't. Yeah, I had no idea that India was so big on motorcycles. I know they're super big on like motor scooters and things like that. Um, but obviously they are a big market because they were protecting it for so many years with a tariff.
Yeah, I think it
But
was a 15 or 20% tariff on
yeah,
U.S.
but
goods.
but Harleys and things like that are super popular and people want them.
Yeah, so
And why not?
it's just a different angle on who would have thought that. I find it interesting that you know uh, everything that is affected by tariffs, and this being like a bright light for one U.S. company who actually is they're struggling quite badly because I
They
think
are, yes, yes, here. They're not,
so.
well, I think they've run through their audience. Younger people don't particularly go for Harleys.
Here's some interesting numbers. I was wrong. India actually has a 110% tariff right now on imported vehicles. They yearly import
Yeah.
about 15,000 cars from overseas, with just 1,000 coming from the U.S. And there's also a specific tariff beyond that 110% um, on larger displacement motorcycles. But that is potentially going to be cut as this deal is renegotiated. As I said, this could be one of the first tariff deals that get renegotiated. 110%. So if a Harley costs,
That's a
uh,
lot.
what, $50,000 probably, I would imagine?
Well, I know, I think they're, in the 20 to 30,000 typically.
Okay.
Uh, but
So it's
with
60,
110% tariff, it's 60
70,000.
grand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Well,
lot.
that's a lot. That's a lot. So interesting. We'll have to see if there'll be a lot of Harleys rattling around India. But it's just another angle on the tariff stuff, right?
It's just there are just so many levels of interest here.
Yeah, so many levels of the story for sure. Hey, let's talk about something from Lexus. They are showing their ES500E This was revealed in Shanghai this week, and it is one of their core models. It's basically reimagined, and it is a new design language, and this will be both an electric vehicle and a hybrid vehicle as well. 2026 Lexus ES. It was
Yep.
unveiled at the Shanghai International Automobile Industry Exhibition today. I believe that is a car show. Eighth generation of this model, and it's an interesting design, very angular. It has an interesting styling cue on the side. Looks fairly traditional in the back for a Lexus. It is the second of three new Lexus battery electric models scheduled to debut by March 2026. And it's called, the design concept is called Clean Tech X Elegance, I guess, and Elegance.
Yep.
So in the back, I would say it looks like many standard Lexuses. In the front, it has the fish mouth shape, but a very small grille because this model being shown is electric.
Now, the interior to me is a wee bit stark.
Yes, I would say that. The interior is a wee big
Yeah.
stark. But we'll have to see this when it makes it to the U.S. because I think their interiors are usually much nicer than that. But we shall see. We shall see. Front wheel drive model and an all wheel drive model. The ES500E is an all wheel drive model. And it is the first to receive the Lexus Safety System 4.0 Plus that will have updates to its hardware and detection capabilities. It will go on sale next year, the 2026 ES. And it will be sold as the ES 350 Hybrid in front wheel. That's a 350h front wheel drive, all wheel drive, 2.5 liter inline four cylinder hybrid. And then the ES350E front wheel drive, which is electric. And of course, and then the ES500E, which is all wheel drive and electric.
That's right.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. I'm not
It is
crazy
pretty
about
cool.
the interior either, though, but I like the
Well,
exterior.
I think I would. The interior would not grow on me. I would just feel that that it's just too stark for me.
Yeah, a little too stark. Little too stark. You have a story about California license plates, of all things, right? And they're
That's
running
right.
out of numbers.
Well, it's interesting. They're nearing the end of the numbers available for its current license plate format,
Okay.
which is one number, three letters, and three numbers. Okay, so
One number, three
three
letter.
letters and three numbers.
Oh,
One ABC, two, three, four.
okay.
Okay, but they ran out. I mean, you would think they wouldn't, but there are only so many combinations of a number and three letters and then three numbers.
This is
And they're
apparently
expected
due to a surge in car
car
registrations.
sales.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is interesting.
registrations. So they think the current plates are only going to last, the numbering system is only going to last through the rest of the year.
Wow.
Uh, and then they say it's a straightforward fix, fortunately. I mean, I would immediately just think, well, add another digit. But license plates are only so big.
Right.
Um, but anyway, you know, 463,000 plus cars were registered in the first quarter. That's up over 8% over last year.
Wow.
So there you go. So they're running out of plates. I just think it's funny. They're running out of plates.
Well, don't they
Uh,
have something in California where you can keep your old plates? Like there was a big deal to keep
yes,
the black plates. The
the
plates
old
stay with
black
the
pigs.
car,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
you sell a car, like
Like Europe.
yeah, and it sticks with the car. I mean, for example, I was watching someone where they were digging out an old car out of a barn. It had California plates on it, and they can use those plates. Like the thing's been sitting
Right.
in the barn with its plates on, registered to somebody else or owned by somebody else, and they can use those plates somehow. So hey, that will save on some numbers, won't it?
That's right. And by the way, they've figured out what to do, which is the current sequence, which will end sometime in 2026. It'll end with the numbers 9ZZZ999.
Wow, that would be a cool plate.
I want that plate. I want
Yes,
that plate.
yeah. I wonder.
And
I,
then
I wonder when somebody comes in and gets that, they won't even realize that that is the last plate in that sequence.
that's that's right. That's the last one. And then the next sequence will be number, alpha, 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 number.
Okay.
So it'd be like 000, AAA, 0.
Wow. Wow.
So it's no big deal.
No.
Uh, but but that particular license plate, if you saw somebody robbing a bank, would you call 911 and say it's O
I don't know.
AAAO?
I always thought that would be hard for police to call that those plate numbers in. It's
Yeah.
kind of an awkward thing, but I have to say that that is weird that they're running out of numbers. I've never heard about that. Um,
Yeah, that they've run out of numbers, millions in that sequence, but they're running out.
well, I have to look in New York. I think it's still three and three, three numbers, three letters.
Yeah,
Or is it four? I don't know.
because our New York is 3 and 3.
Yeah. Some of the press cars have a weird setup. They have big numbers, two big numbers, like
Right,
29,
right.
then two little numbers, and then some letters. But the font is smaller. It's like a third of the size. I
Yeah, I
don't know.
don't get that.
I don't get that. The coolest plates, though, used to be the Michigan plates. They were simple plates.
Well, it
They
said
were said
manufacturer.
manufacturer on it. I always thought that was. I liked driving those. I thought it was a cool look.
I did too.
And they were simple. They were like blue with white letters. Um, do you think license plates will ever be replaced with something electronic?
Um, I've thought about that over the years and kind of thought, well, what would what would be the advantage of that? Obviously, it's light, so you see it better,
Mm-hmm.
but it's much more expensive than a plate,
Yeah,
and it needs maintenance,
hot rodders would like
cleaning.
it though. You wouldn't have to run that front plate and block the air.
True.
I don't know.
So,
I mean, it would be an RFID thing. Would it be automatically scanned?
well,
It
if you
couldn't be
think about it,
stolen. It couldn't be stolen or damaged, right? You wouldn't
right,
have to
that's true.
replace it because the reflective material
Why
time's up.
couldn't it be an offshoot of what we now do with Parkmobile?
I don't use that. So what is it?
Parkmobile, that's national system, and you when you go park somewhere, you look at the number on the signs on the street that says where you are,
Oh, like a zone. Yeah,
and then you enter it and you count lay how many hours do you want to park there, and then say start parking.
I got you. I think it might be built in at the factory and remotely programmed, and police cars can read it. They get behind it, they read it.
I
I don't
mean,
know.
just have a transponder.
It has a transponder on it.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
the average person won't be able to say I saw that plate. You couldn't do that. But I guess you could have sensors all along the roads and light poles and things like that. That oh yeah, that car passed by. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think they look particularly great on a car. you know.
Well, they're especially some of the states have horrible colors.
Right, and you don't get to pick the color, but
Yeah.
um, I never thought about putting custom plates on because I think A, it
You
feels,
mean, oh, you mean names?
yeah, because
Yeah,
I
like
think it makes it too easy for someone to remember your car.
right, like Vroom. And,
Yeah. Somebody, somebody here has a plate that says sexy diva.
yeah,
I was like, I wouldn't put I wouldn't put that on
yeah.
my car. Well, I certainly wouldn't put it on my car, but I just wouldn't. I just don't want. I don't want the added expense or the somebody that cuts you off and gets mad at you and they'll remember your plate because it's easy to
The
remember that.
best, the best vanity plate I ever saw was a guy driving by in a Volkswagen, an older Volkswagen,
Mm-hmm.
and the plate said 28IF.
28IF. Okay.
28IF, 28 if.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, boy, this is familiar. There's something really familiar about this. And I thought about it all day. And then suddenly I thought, wow, could it be? And I got up and I went through our record albums and I pulled out the Beatles album when they're walking across
Abbey
the
Road.
street,
Abbey Road.
Abbey Road. And that was the album that sparked, because Paul is in a white suit and bare feet, it sparked the rumor
Right.
that he was dead.
Right.
And the rumor was 28 if. If
Wasn't
he
that?
lived, he would be 28.
Oh, I thought it was the license plate. Wasn't there a Volkswagen in the shot there?
Oh, wait, yes, I'm sorry. The license plate on the Volkswagen there said 20, and that's what sparked the rumor. And I just thought, boy, this guy really went esoteric.
Yes, definitely. I mean, and that album cover, by the way, they were recording the album, and they needed a album cover shot, and they're like, well, we don't want to like spend a lot of time doing this.
Yeah.
And I think Paul said, why don't we just walk across the street? It's right here. And they went out, and I guess they got a photographer and shot it. So it was
Yeah,
like
that's a great,
right near the
great cover.
recording studio they were doing. Yeah, and it's funny, like something like where they're like, all right, let's just get a shot of us walking across the street,
Yeah, this is
you
good.
know, and we'll go back record some more songs, and it became iconic. But that is great. I believe that was, yeah. There were cars parked and you could see the backs of them.
Yeah, that Volkswagen on the left side of the street said 28 if.
Yeah, that, boy, that is esoteric.
Great,
Yeah, yeah. I would
great.
not get that. I would be like, what does it mean? What is
Well,
he
I
trying to
just knew
say?
I had seen it. I knew I had seen it before, and I just kept thinking.
Wow. Yeah, cool stuff. Cool stuff. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this edition of Cruise Control. I'm Fred Staab.
I'm Les Jackson.
We talked about some esoteric things, and we hope you've enjoyed it. Some new models, some new technology, and even vanity license plates and running out of license plates, which is
Yep.
a pretty interesting story. So stay tuned. We've got another hour coming up, and we will be right back with more Cruise Control.